here on time, and we'll move on to Alexandra David's Linwood Central Heathcote, Waikato, Linwood Heathcote Central. Welcome.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. The board would like to thank you all for the opportunity to present on the representation review. This has been both a complex and challenging submission because, as you are all aware, the Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board is the only community board proposed to be disbanded. We do realise our submission contradicts itself due to the limited consultation with boards and the community. The board feel we have given the best way forward and suggestions with the most limited available options. The former Hagley Ferry Mead, now Linwood Central Heathcote Board, has always been a super diverse board with wide-ranging issues. We have huge socio-economic disparity, coastal issues, hill suburbs, and central city redevelopment following the earthquakes. We have roading, maintenance, and infrastructure issues also. The board acknowledges that this grouping has created a disproportionate workload compared to other board areas. Also, we have recently had information shared with us around customer service reports, proving our communities are very active and are aware of our wide-ranging issues. So we can understand the rationale for splitting up the board to an extent. What we have found harder to understand is the choices of grouping that are put forward in the proposal that went out for consultation. The board is not in support of the proposal, but are aware that in this particular process, which is dictated by central government, only one option can be put forward. So whilst there was not unanimous agreement from the board has chosen to propose an alternative within the boundaries that have been set. The proposal doesn't take into account communities of interest, and an opportunity has been lost to do this with people and has rather been done to them, which is what we continually say in council we aim to avoid. We have very real concerns about putting two major areas of deprivation, both coastal and Linwood, together. But within the constraints of the current boundaries, because these were not changed in this proposal, we have opted for an alternative that places key city wards affected by climate change and coastal inundation together. This is that we propose that Linwood Coastal Heathcote be placed together, which leaves Papanui, Innes, Burwood, Spraden, Cashmere, Central, Hornby, Holswell, Riccarton, Fendalton, Waimarie, Herwood. I'd like to finish by acknowledging the communities in our community board area who feel like they are being done to and not done with. Whilst they get their say now, in reality, it feels like it's too late. Our communities have spoken with us and they are really concerned. They have strong relationships with local elected members and staff, and they are concerned that this will all be lost. We hope that even the small amount of time we have with you all this afternoon helps continue the conversation around ward placements through the disbanding of the Waikato Linwood Central Heathcote Community Board. Thank you.
Thank you, and yours is the toughest of the submissions to make, and I fully acknowledge that and appreciate the manner in which you've presented here today. Have we got questions for Alex? Sarah?
Thanks, Alex. We've been on that board together for a while now. Being that it is likely that something's going to go to head that splits up the community board, we've had like Phillipstown Community Hub come and talk about the communities of interest that they share across sort of Phillipstown, Linwood, for Charleston, that area. Do you think council needs to make sure that even if those areas are in different community board areas, that it enables forums which allow the connections between those groups still?
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. And look, I think that while we have elected members in different ward areas, they still understand the interests of those communities. But I think being able to have those communities still get together and talk about the issues that they are facing would be really helpful, because we are seeing similar issues across those communities, and being able to have them actually connect with those issues, I think we see better results.
And involving elected members from the 2 or 3 wards and stuff as well together.
That'd be great,
Yeah.
Yanni?
Thank you for your submission. Do you have any understanding of why the Linwood Central Heathcote board was the only one that was put forward as an option to be disbanded compared to any of the other 3 ward boards?
I'll put the question back to you. No.
Right.
I heard no.
So in the workshops with staff, was there any reason given as to why the Linwood Central one?
Yes.
There was never an option where that board was retained.
Look, the thing is that it has been a very tough process, and I don't want to relitigate what can't be relitigated. We've gone out with a proposal. We've got a serious proposal put in front of us by one of the community boards, and it will be considered with due respect. So,
Thank you.
James, you had a question.
I'm almost too afraid to ask, but I'll start on a positive that you're not rejecting coastal, so I appreciate that. Look, your proposal has been discussed before now, and I have to admit, when we were going through it at Coastal Burwood, I hadn't really thought about this one, and the concept that you're proposing, I'm really open to it actually. But can you just describe a little more why those 3, just in 25 words or less, because you don't have much time, I know, yeah?
Still
Why those 3?
almost 3 minutes. So we can...
It's a phrase, 25 words
So it's
or less.
Heathcote, Linwood, Coastal.
Linwood and Coastal. So the discussion that we had around our board table, and I must say that, look, it's not necessarily unanimously supported, but people saw the merit in it as well, even if it wasn't unanimous. It's having those areas of interest together. So communities that can connect around coastal issues. And obviously there are 2 more low socioeconomic areas within that cluster. We also still have a higher socioeconomic area, but having those communities of interest together actually gives you the opportunity to work with staff across those areas on ways that you can connect those communities and work more holistically in trying to make some real positive change in those connected communities.
The last question is, could you just not tell Phil Major that I support this?
Okay. I'll not post it on my wall.
Because every time we shift something around, then something has to move.
Absolutely.
And I think the downside of that option is the separation between the 2 sides of the residential red zone.
Yes.
You know, the Otakaro Avon River corridor, and you know that it seems to me that there's a centrality around the rivers that require more of a focus. So if you think of the Otakaro Avon River, and you think of the Opawaho Heathcote River, you start to, you know, you connect at the estuary, and it's a strong connection in terms of what our ambitions are for our rivers.
Yeah.
So you know, and in terms of strengthening communities, building communities around the work that needs to be done on the rivers seems to be a powerful incentive, as it is in the Littleton Harbour.
And that's valid. That is
Yeah.
valid. What comes down the river, but I'd like to see that the ihutai, the estuary, be treated like a lung rather than a sink.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have the 3 wards surrounding it, taking care of it and having some strong input into it,
Yeah.
that will make that happen faster. What comes down the tap or down the tube to the lung is different.
Well, you could argue the toss either which way. Yeah. So I mean, and it just shows the strength of the challenge that we've got. I'd just like you to spend just a minute on Phillipstown because we had quite a strong presentation from them.
I haven't actually seen Phillipstown presentation, but I do know that is a community that does worry about being broken up. And they have created a very strong community, obviously based around the Phillipstown hub that has been their central location. And I think that having them within the ward area and having them within that wider ward area has actually been able to enable them to get a lot more done, and you're starting to see some positive conclusions coming.
But your proposal would take them out of your ward.
Yes. So, look, it's not an ideal situation for Phillipstown. But I think what Sarah proposed earlier about having them actually still interacting together, then I think that could be something that could be a positive.
Right.
But yeah, I must say it's not an ideal situation for Phillipstown.
Very difficult trying
Yeah.
not to.
Yeah.
But look, thank you very much for your submission, and thanks to your community board too for putting so much effort into it. I know that yours is the hardest one to have been put together, so thank you very much for coming and presenting today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have Sylvia Lukey from Kennedy's Bush Road Neighbourhood Association.